Welcome to another edition of the Bullimianti podcast, proudly presented by Home Field Apparel. It's been, 2 weeks since our last podcast, I think, maybe a little bit longer than that. A lot of stuff has happened, guys. How we been? Seth, Steeg, how we doing?
So good. Just nothing could be better in life.
Yeah, doing well. I've had so much spring football to watch. It's been so much fun. It's all worth my time, and I've really been enjoying it the last few weekends.
Really learned a lot. You know how to beat these teams with the film that you watch now because of the spring game, so that's good.
Yeah, big mistake on Georgia's part, big mistake on Alabama's part. Ohio State went Big Ten Network, so not as many people saw it, so probably good. Florida went totally behind the paywall, so good stuff from new head coach. That's smart thinking there.
That was on ESPN Plus.
Yeah, ESPN Plus, SEC Network Plus. They went like double paywall,
and it was on a Thursday before Good Friday.
Right.
So nobody saw it. So sneaky there, Billy Napier.
We call that 4D chess. That's where we're opening it up to the fans, but not really. And Let's get into it because we got a lot of stuff to cover. A lot of spring sports are kind of wrapping up, and they've got the conference tournaments. So let's kind of jump into it. I'll let you guys pick. Do you guys want to go golf or tennis first?
For the sake of Seth's enjoyment, we should probably talk about golf.
Perfect. So let's start with women's golf. They finished their season with a fifth place finish at the AAC conference tournament in Pinehurst, North Carolina, where the weather conditions were less than ideal, to say the least, which is probably really putting it really, really kindly. I think it was like mid 40s for most of the 3 days. Melanie Green turned in her seventh top 10 finish in over 10 events this season. She finished sixth individually in the 50-player field. She's been pretty good as a sophomore coming in. Let's see, looking at 19 rounds of par better, and her season scoring average was 71.5. Are both new high watermarks in USF single season history, according to USF. And looking at the scores from the tournament, you can kind of see that weather played a major factor. We were kind of discussing before the podcast got going, like how bad were the scores? Could any of us beat it? And the worst round in the score was an 86. Yeah. And I could only dream of shooting an 86 in perfect conditions. So a lot better than the three of us. So we were saying I would get 20 strokes. I would
yeah.
It's tough.
I've gone mid 80s, but really good conditions. And of course, I played quite a bit. So I don't think I'm going mid 80s at Pinehurst. No. It's just an inkling I have. Do you think we could scramble and beat anybody in the field?
How many guys we got? Just us three?
This three right here.
A 3-man scramble?
Yeah.
I think we could get a mid-table finish.
Steve, you play that all?
I have their golf clubs. I have a set.
Well, that's half the battle.
That's half. We're already there. It's surprisingly, it's not a PBR golf bag. It's a Corona bag. So going a little bit off brand there. Yeah. I'm trying to think of the last time I played golf. Not recently.
You strike me as a golfer, Steve, just a natural.
Naturally, I pretty much am I shoot 71 consistently. Doesn't matter the course. Just always shoot 71. That's per hole.
I was gonna say, what about the back nine?
See, which is kind of surprising because your family is in a sailing club in Jacksonville in Duval, right?
Yeah, we play croquet instead.
It seems like the ultimate white guy, hoity-toity white guy sport for you to play, and you just as a graduate of a #country club school, you just completely bypass golf.
I mean, I play it socially, which is, I think, probably the widest way I could probably say that I play golf. But I mean, we're more of a tennis and sailing club, not as
more
much.
of a racket club family.
Yeah, we're actually big into croquet now. That's the big sport that we like to get into now. Very competitive.
That's a gateway drug to golf.
It basically is. Boy, do the rules of croquet just supersede everything that you think you know about life.
That's fair. Just a kind of quick recap of women's golf and the season in general. I mean, they continue to make improvements under head coach Erica Brennan. I think we've talked, kind of ad nauseum about the difference that she has made on this program, coming from where it was previously under former head coach Tiffany Pratt's, where she was unceremoniously let go under interesting conditions, to say the very, very least. To see what she's been able to do in her, I think this is year 4, year 4, maybe even longer. God, I've been covering this.
It depends on if you're going to count the COVID year.
Yeah. So it could be year 5, I think, maybe. She's done a fantastic job, and excited to see what that hashtag the uprising does in the future. I think Melanie Green's a really good centerpiece to kind of build a program around. And then she's got the ship going in the right direction. And speaking of centerpieces, let's switch gears, go to men's golf. It's the Alvin Bergstrom show, and it's always going to be the Alvin Bergstrom show. This kid is ridiculous. He's played 30 rounds of golf this season. 27 have been under par. You just super casual, like setting literally every single school record here. They head into the conference tournament this weekend. They host once again, where they'll look to defend their title. Alvin won the individual crown last season and hold out in impressive fashion on 18 to capture it. I think he had a 2 or 3 stroke lead going into 18 and chipped in, or no, it was a par. I think it was a putt from like just off the green and hold out to capture the title. It was a really awesome moment for him, for Steve Bradley, the entire crew. They do a really, really good job. So that's from Friday to Sunday at Southern Hills Plantation up there in Brooksville. So if you happen to, be in the Brooksville area, pop on by, check them out this weekend.
Alvin Bergstrom, currently the 47th ranked amateur in the world.
There's a lot of people in the world.
Top 50 is pretty good.
It's pretty good. He was invited to the Arnold Palmer Invitational, I believe is what it's called. Let me double check that for you guys as we
Bay Hill.
We're fact checking live on the Bullimianti podcast.
That's what we do, man. I want to make sure I get it right, because it's actually really, really impressive.
We need to get like a little tally mark anytime any of us are
Arnold
wrong.
Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill in Orlando.
That's what it is. Look at me, man. Nailed it. And it's like for the top international guys. It's Arnold Palmer Cup selection. He will compete for the international team. Let's see. I just want to make sure I get this right. So he's one of the top 6 international players in the Arnold Palmer Cup rankings that was announced today, and was part of the 12-man international team that will take on the United States team at Golf Club de Genevieve in Switzerland, July 1st through the 3rd. It's a annual golf competition for college/university, and it's basically like the college version of the Ryder Cup.
Are we going to get sent there to cover it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. We can get some credentials.
Yeah,
we'll call a favor in.
Yeah, if you want to send your just keep all your receipts and then send them to Colin Sherwin. He'll take care of that for you.
All right.
So that'd be great. Yeah. Oh boy. That'd be really fun though.
I'm sure.
I think we would have a good time. I think that'd be the most eccentric thing that an SB Nation site / podcast has ever done.
Yeah.
Like, I can't think of anything that's going to top that.
Let's go to Switzerland and cover the College Ryder Cup.
I mean,
And really, we're not even going to be rooting for the U.S. team because the USF guy is on the international team.
Speak for yourself. These colors don't run, Nate.
Jesus.
Oh Lord, that's fair. And then we've got tennis going on. Women's tennis knocked off Temple on Wednesday, depending on when you hear it. So tonight or / Wednesday. Temple was up 3-1. They blew a 3-1 lead. Impressive stuff from women's tennis. They needed that pretty badly. Their season didn't go as planned, would be the best way to put it. They went 6-15 this year.
How harsh am I allowed to be on this version of the Bullimianti podcast?
Bro, be as honest as you need to be, because they didn't win a single match. The last three, like
yeah, they got skunked quite a few times this year, and they, not that I come into the women's tennis with high expectations, obviously.
But here's the thing: we should, because they've won multiple conference titles over the last 6 or 7 years, and they've fallen off a cliff. That's what needs to be discussed. Let's be honest here. If we're going to be as hard on football and men's basketball and all of the other sports, we have to be not equally as tough on the other Olympic sports that are not cared about as much. And I think there needs to be a discussion. 6-15, is not great. If we're being perfectly honest, and last year was less than ideal as well. They were 8-15, so hey, they won 2 more games because they played 2 more games. But it's tough. They face Central Florida tomorrow. They have not fared well against them over the last couple of years. I know that sounds weird, right? It sounds weird that the USF team would struggle against Central Florida because that never happens, but it is the case. So
they fucking suck. Like, they're bad.
Man.
I asked if I was allowed to be harsh, and we concurred. But yeah, they need help. They need a lot of serious help. I'll leave my thoughts alone there. I think if you're gonna roll the dice and make a change, I think that's the easiest sport that you could probably make the change at. Think you're gonna tie up less money and get a more instant gratification there if you're gonna want to make a change.
All right. I didn't think we'd be calling for the firing of a tennis coach today.
I've done it all year.
Steeg is a racket club.
I've done it all year.
Steeg is a racket club guy.
It is the one Olympic, spring sport that has not shown improvement. I will give you that, right? Women's golf, steady improvement. Track and field, steady improvement. Men's golf, always good. Men's tennis, even when they dip low, they're still pretty good. Women's tennis, great. And then they've fallen off a very, very large cliff. And I don't see the end result coming anytime soon. They are getting the new tennis facilities. Will that help? Possibly. It'll help in recruiting. But I mean, you're getting beat bad, man. Bad, like really bad. I think they were skunked 6 times.
It's not great. 6. What is that? 6 out of 21.
6. Yeah.
And they had 6 wins, so they lost the same amount. But you had an equally likely chance of winning the game than you did to just not score a point. And I feel like that's not great.
It's not. It's really not. And Nick, as you said, man, we're getting the tennis facilities, so that's great. It'll definitely help men's tennis take the next step because, frankly, the tennis facilities are very, very outdated.
Hector, it could be.
Maybe they got to go. Maybe they need to switch from like Wilson to Penn or something like that, and figure something
Change
out.
the balls.
They're just all about love. A lot of six love sets out there.
But I wish that's how they scored it.
Yeah. But on a happier note, I didn't know I'd be the nice one tonight. That's a nice little change. Men's tennis, they're 13-9 heading into the conference tournament, riding a five game win streak where they've knocked off 5 consecutive top 75 opponents. Most recently in a thriller on Saturday at Central Florida, where they win 4-3. I believe it was a game-winning ace that won it for the Bulls. So give us those 6 Warren I 4 points, baby. Slowly but surely, if we'll keep clawing back, baby.
Can I get back to my negative side of things?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm all in. That happened like maybe 2.5 hours after the women's team lost and got skunked to lose the overall
love
thing. So, the comeback has failed. Unfortunately.
Is it over?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, they're still going to count points for whatever god fucking reason. They're going to award like 6 points to UCF for having like 3 women finish hurdles at the end of the season, and then
This spring game debacle really broke you, Steeg.
I am a broken man. Between you and Parker.
Steeg,
Parker's never going to hear this.
Are you a one-handed backhand guy or a two-handed backhand guy?
Depends on my depends on if I can get set up. That's the key of it all. Is if it's in motion, I'm a one-handed backhand kind of guy. But if I can get set up, I got a devastating 2-hand backhand.
That's
just hitting an absolute slicer.
So I'm not even like joking around. Like, Steeg, are you actually good at tennis?
I'm decent. I am, and when I say decent, like I would probably lose.
It was golf or tennis. All right.
Yeah.
He's already told us he's bad at golf. He's probably good at tennis.
There's a lot less stuff. Because in tennis you can out athlete your opponent very easily. Like
run them ragged.
You can run them like if you know what you're doing, you can run them. The thing is, if you're playing someone who's technically speaking better than you, like able to hit like cleaner shots and everything like that, I look like the fool because I'm running around huffing and puffing, and this guy is just fucking hitting slices and putting English on the ball that I couldn't even say, but.
So is there a random sport that you're actually like secretly good at? Like obviously, I mean, you are a country club boy, tennis, clearly not the secret here.
Squash,
was there like pickleball, racquetball, maybe?
I already said it. Croquet. Just throw me on the croquet field. Just let her rip. Let me tell you something.
Regular polo. Got any reps at regular polo?
Not yet. The horse has left the stable, unfortunately, and also, I'm not in the tax bracket that could play polo. I drove past polo grounds actually this past weekend to go to West Palm, and my first thought was, "Good God, I have never seen so much money in like 1 square like mile. Like people are just driving the most extravagant cars with the most just unworldly, and these horses are just massive hunks of just animal." It's incredible.
I think he's not telling us, but I think Steeg could definitely be a secret highlight, just wizard.
I
could see that.
I feel like I'd also be the idiot that would not die but get a serious injury by getting hit by like 198 mile per hour concrete ball.
That could also be it.
That seems right up my alley.
Yeah. Seth, do you have a secret sport you're actually kind of good at?
No, not really.
Yeah,
I guess golf would be. I'm okay. I'm all right at golf. I've broken 90. I didn't really play much else. I played football. I'm not bad at basketball. I thought might have been better at basketball in high school than football, but I never played because I was doing football. But nothing like no real niche sports for me.
I think Seth's claim to fame is I mean, secretly good at football is not a secret to us, but you do have the funnest fact of us all when it comes to the sport that you were good at.
I suppose. What's the secret fun fact?
Oh, that not John Brantley, fucking working with Kerwin Bell.
Oh, yeah.
And knowing the insider secrets and
right.
the Kerwin Bell.
Well, that's right. Big Kerwin guy here.
In like 15 years at the on-campus stadium at some sort of block party or like tailgate, you're going to be a trivia question. It's going to be like, which famed Daily Stampede contributor was a quarterback under Kerwin Bell?
All right, that'd be cool.
That's what we're going to do for you.
I appreciate that.
That's fair. I'm not good at any secret sport. I am perfectly bad at most sports. And I'm okay with that.
I thought you got the hoops.
I mean, I'm good for
that's that's not a secret sport though. Either.
I'm good for what this is.
And
if you're listening on the podcast, I'm gesturing toward my body. Like I'm good for whatever this is. I did beat my buddy who played college basketball in a game of 21 a few weeks ago. I nearly passed out when I got home, but I did it. Yeah. So that was fun.
It's a victory.
Yeah. Wow, this thing went off the rails sooner than I thought. I think Steeg just kind of throwing us for a loop here, Seth. Really,
his negativity is out of nowhere.
Seriously, it really was.
It's that
I'm a man of secrets.
He's probably a really good skier too. Look, Steeg. I'm not right now with the glare. It looks like you're wearing one of those kits. That's the mustache, the nose, and the glasses.
This is my whenever I'm on like video calls for work, this is my I'm just gonna stop paying attention for 20 minutes. Look.
It looks like you're wearing a disguise.
My arch enemy.
I might be. I freaking might be.
What were we talking about?
I don't know, man. You really set us off the freaking rails. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Tennis beating Central Florida.
Yep, and then they'll face off against Central Florida on Friday at 10 a.m. In Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the first round of the conference tournament. I think they've been to most finals, if not all, over the last few years. I don't think they made it last year, but they've also been very, very good. Ashley Fisher does a fantastic job. He's a treasure. And he does good work over there on the men's side. Steve, do you think you could just ask him to pull double duty or what?
Yes. Save the department a little bit of money, Ash. Need you to play. I mean, I would be shocked if like the men's and women's teams don't like already practice together. Like it seems like a natural progression thing, but also I'm always shocked at how big a tennis roster is, because you only hear of like the 6 guys that are playing, but there's like 15 guys on the roster or something like that at all times.
Well, you just got to make sure, right?
Yeah, just in case.
All right, let's get into men's basketball, women's basketball as the portaling continues. And then we'll wrap up with football. This will be a nice, hopefully tight 45. So men's basketball, I think since we last talked, I think Caleb Murphy left. I think the thing that we've all talked about secretly happened. He entered his name into the portal, and then he's going to go through the NBA draft process, like I was told back in February. And his time in Tampa, regardless of how the draft process works out, he will not be playing for USF in 2022, 2023. Kind of figured that's what would happen. He joins Jalen McCreary, who left earlier this year. So far, those are the only two that have transferred out, if I'm not mistaken, right, Steeg?
Yep, and then obviously Javon Green graduated. He used his last year of eligibility, so three missing pieces.
One missing piece. Just
technically, yeah.
I mean, if you're going to be mean about women's tennis, I think we can be equally mean about men's basketball at this point.
You're right.
Is that fair?
Honestly, every time someone brings up USF's transfers, I have Jalen McCreary's name written down so I don't forget it.
Right? Like, I mean,
he didn't do much.
Like, Javon Green, he was decently good on defense. He was supposed to come in to be a three-point shooter and was atrocious, as was the rest of the team this past season. I think we've talked about that ad nauseum. Literally, they can't get any worse unless they stay last and then worsen their percentages, which, law of averages, that means that can't happen, right?
You would be surprised, my friend. As the story goes,
you know what? Honestly, we
can keep digging. We can keep digging.
Yeah.
We'll struggle eventually, but boy, are we about to hit some more mud.
You're probably right. Well, let's go slightly positive, I guess. We've got a couple of new transfers. We've got Doc. Man.
Try, because I was shocked by how that's pronounced.
Mardar. Okay. Doc Mardar. He is a 6'11", 200-pound forward/center. There's highlights out there of him, and Steve, you and I talked about this privately. Like, he doesn't look 6'11". He doesn't look 6'10". I told Steeg if he's 6'10", then so am I. But then I saw him at the spring game, and like, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. I think he just plays hunched over. There's a little bit of I'm not saying, I want to be perfectly clear when I speak these words out of my mouth. There's a bit of Chet Holmgren in him where he doesn't play like Chet's like 7'1", but he plays like he's 6'7". He plays hunched over. It's a weird.
It's a very athletic big man. Like when you have Russ Shewa and Doc Mardar on the court at the same time, both technically the same height, are playing two very different styles of basketball.
Yes.
And Doc is a freshman, correct?
Correct.
Yes. I got corrected by the fucking man himself, Michael Kelly, on a drive-by. Freshman, not transfer. Because I thought it was Hutchinson Community College, but it's Hutchinson Prep Academy.
Huntington Prep. Man, you are terrible at this. My Lord. So he had offers from Oregon State and LSU. He's from the South Sudan. Then went to Huntington Prep in West Virginia. He was a 13-11 guy with 4 blocks in his senior year of high school. Could be a rim runner, rim protector, but if he's straight up 6'11" and 200 pounds, he needs to be in the weight room yesterday.
He's crazy long, though.
He is. He is
Long.
very, very long. So that could help in the long run. I think if he gets 25 to 30 more pounds on him and stays as athletic as he is, then you got something. But until one of these guys ever pans out, I am just fully in skeptical mode.
So is his name Doc Murder? Or pretty close to that?
Spelling wise, you're very close. Doc Murder.
Call him Kevorkian. That's a great joke. Nobody gets it.
It's okay.
Yeah. Then they also added Ryan Conwell. He's a 6'3", 190-pound guard. He was a 3-star by 247 in Rivals. He had offers from Virginia Tech, Xavier, Murray State, App State, Wichita State. He was one of the top players coming out of Indiana, which is it's the Hoosier State. They play a lot of hoops there. The Sycamore State. Some guy named Larry Bird played there. I think he's from there. They hoop in Indiana because it's one of the few indoor sports that they can play year round. He was 16, 2 assists and 4 rebounds per game his junior year. He exploded for a 33-point game in an AAU game this year. I think that's kind of where he started to felt his presence on the circuit. Proved to me that one of you guys can bring the ball up the court when Memphis presses, and I'm sold. But until then, I have serious doubts about Trey Moss and or Ryan Conwell running this offense successfully or competently if Brian Gregory doesn't bring anyone in the portal over the summer because that's what they need. And they need to add some bodies. I think they still have a few scholarships left to give out, right?
I don't have the exact count. I think they have 2. But I always get confused with college basketball, and then the whole walk-on getting a scholarship thing always confuses me going into the next year. I believe they have 2 because they're constantly looking at and it's gonna sound bad. They constantly do things in 2 whenever they do visits. So that gives me the inkling that they're looking at adding 2.
Okay.
I think that obviously Ryan and Doc are 2 of those scholarships, and I think right now they're at 13, if I'm doing my math correct. So really all they have to replace is the Mark Kalea scholarship that's no longer on the books, and then the Javon Green departure. Or if you want the technical certs, the Caleb Murphy departure and the Jalen McCurry departure. Either way, I think they have 2 more that they can give out.
Okay, fair enough. Women's basketball, they've got to reload. Lisa Pinzon entered the portal, transferred out. She's at Maryland now. God bless her. She was great for USF for 4 years, and I like with David Collins and those guys who left. She shouldn't even be playing college basketball anymore. She's done. But let her go. Let her go to the Big Ten school. Let her have some fun. With her final year of eligibility. So why not? They welcome in Priscilla Williams. She's a sophomore transfer from Syracuse. She redshirted this past season after a pretty gnarly fall in the ACC conference tournament against Florida State at the end of 2021. But she can light it up. She lit it up as a freshman. She averaged 8.7 points per game. She kind of fell off toward the end of the year, toward the end of conference play. But she popped off for 26 on a perfect shooting night versus Miami early on in that conference slate. And she averaged 3.2 assists, 3.2 rebounds in her 21 starts. She was a top 10 recruit in the 2020 class. Jose continues to do what he does best. And then Jeanette Arenio, probably saying that wrong, obviously, from Finland, is coming over. She's at the Helsinki Basketball Academy. She's averaging 14.8 points per game, 4.4 rebounds, 3 assists. She's been pretty good. She's also a member of the Finland national team, the Finnish national team. So just another European who can shoot for Jose Fernandez and his team. And then there was another one. Steeg, can you help me out? The
Caitlin
one that
McGee.
That's why you're here.
That's why you pay me the big bucks.
Yep. She was transferred. That was announced Monday.
Yeah,
Tuesday.
really late Monday.
Monday.
Or no, sorry, Tuesday. I'm getting my days mixed up. Yeah, it was Tuesday.
Are you sure?
No, it was Monday.
Where's she from?
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. Perfect.
Originally from Jacksonville, Florida.
Duval.
Yep.
So there'll still be some more transfers coming in for women's basketball and men's basketball. Not nearly as worried for women's basketball. I shot Jose a text a couple weeks ago, and it's like, sorry, man, I've been in Europe recruiting. I'm busy reloading. So that's Jose's life motto. He's reloading. They don't rebuild, they reload. And for the better part of 20 years, he's done just that. So going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I still have no idea what the hell happened after the Bahamas this past season. That's going to have to be a conversation to have at some point. But we'll get there. But I think that's it for men's and women's basketball. Let's get into the nitty-gritty stuff. Why you guys probably still listen to us sometimes. Football wrapped up their spring practices 2 weeks ago, right? The 9th. So 11 days ago, almost 2 weeks. It was really fun to see that they froze their own kicker. I really enjoyed that.
That poor guy.
Yeah, twice.
Yeah.
Both balls landed on Himes, unfortunately.
It was not particularly close on either one.
So
no adjustment needed, apparently.
I got this. Don't you worry about it, guys.
I know I may have missed by 15 yards to the right, but you know what? Let's try that again.
I'm going to miss by 15 and a half yards this time.
Yeah. That was it obviously got to him. It missed by a half yard further out. So
yeah. God, that was just incredible. I loved every bit of it. That was the funniest thing I've seen in a very, very long time. I'm so happy.
Now we didn't use the timeouts at the end of the first half, but we've talked about that. Or after we talked about that after the game. Maybe that was try to get out of Dodge there with some help. But I thought, for anybody that didn't listen to our post game, I thought the general statement about the game was, that we were really disappointed that some of us, 2/3 of us, were disappointed this was not being streamed so people could watch. But if you weren't going to stream it, I was really hopeful that they wouldn't be vanilla. Like I just got done watching Florida's game and doing some stuff with that. Florida was pretty vanilla for the most part. USF was not vanilla, especially defense. They didn't really wait until the second half. They started doing some stuff early, defensively, moving and blitzing and doing all kinds of stuff. So I was glad that since they weren't broadcasting, they really went kind of all out and really showed some different stuff and tried to be competitive like a real game. So that was good to see. To me, that after the fact, I can say, okay, it makes a little bit more sense if you're going to do it like that. But you kind of, to me, you had to do it like that. And then they also got a really good crowd. So when you add those two things up, I don't think you can kind of see the method to the madness there of not streaming the game. I'm sure a lot more people like to watch it. It would have been nice for us to be able to have some film that wasn't field level with a kid standing in front of the camera. But, other than that, I understand why they didn't stream. And I thought it was a pretty entertaining product to watch live.
Agreed. And Joe is going to be a freaking dude. If he doesn't turn into like the face of the program, I'm going to be so sad. That guy is a walking quote.
If he's not in the NFL, he could go into professional wrestling. He's a really charismatic guy.
Oh man, he can cut a promo.
Big athletic, charismatic guy. You can make some money somewhere.
Exactly. He can cut a freaking promo. I'm excited for it. But there has been some portaling as we leave spring practice. Cesar Reyes,
I'm so sorry, Nate.
I know. RIP Chamberlain High School. Once again, A Chamberlain Chief does not make it out alive at USF. Still waiting for a Chief to pop off. It's been a very, very long time / ever. I think the last guy to actually play meaningful minutes in a game from Chamberlain is Edner Alson, who got passed over by Carlton Mitchell from Gaither. They came in together at the same time, and that was about it, which is terrible. But to be fair, all the good guys from Chamberlain typically went to Florida State. So, Seth, did you ever play Chamberlain growing up?
No, we never played Chamberlain. I think we played Blake in Tampa. We didn't play a ton in Tampa when I was coming up. So,
okay. Did you know Broderick Bunkley? Have you heard of him?
Yeah, the name. I know the name.
Yeah,
that sounded like a fake name. I'm sorry.
No, he was not a fake name. He was a former first-round draft pick of the Philadelphia Eagles and bounced around. I think he played in the NFL for about 10 years. So got that going for us. Ollie Hoyt also played college football. But I digress. Cesar Reyes is now in the portal. I forgot what we were talking about. Cesar Reyes in the portal. Uriah Green also in the portal. So that's 2 offensive linemen in the portal for the Bulls. I expect that they will go out hunting for some more scholarship offensive linemen here over the summer, which is why Jeff Scott and company left some scholarships open because they still need help.
And some of this is probably a result of they went into the portal before spring and got some Division I linemen transferring in.
Yes.
Guys that were older that had time left, similar timelines as the 2 that transferred out. So, you kind of just that competition there. You have 2 guys leave, but you probably have 2 guys that maybe have passed them in the program now. So net positive probably for the position group, but you still hate to see anybody leave, especially guys that you feel like may be contributors down the line.
And I wouldn't say most importantly, but honestly, most importantly, for at least for Seth and I, we've loved this player since he got on campus. Our love for him is not quite Amarian Dawson levels, but it's pretty high up there. Linebacker DeMaris Bellamy has also entered the portal. That's the big time. That's the big pouring out. I thought he was going to be a freaking guy, and he was in spurts. And I think he finished top 3 in grit score in winter workouts.
That was the surprising thing. He was one of their better guys in the offseason program. He was one of the only guys that was not a super senior that was top 10 in the program in the offseason program in terms of the grit rankings. And then we're sitting there watching the game, and I think I turned to you and go, I haven't seen a lot of DeMaris Bellamy. And I think he probably felt the same way. He didn't see a lot of himself playing either. So
so there it is. That's tough. I mean, much like the offensive line room, they went out and got a couple of pretty high-profile transfers, and Jalen Schuler from Hutchinson Community College. And then they went and got DJ Gordon from Minnesota, and DJ is a freaking guy. That man goes sideline to sideline at 154 miles an hour.
Schuler made some plays in the game too.
Yep. He had a big old. He stuck someone in the hole. I remember that.
Start of the second half, he came in and whacked somebody just to start it off. So, and both those guys with COVID years may also have more years left than Bellamy does. It's just kind of a weird quirk. It seems like Bellamy's still a young guy, but we're probably in his 3rd or 4th year in the program now. So, just couldn't get it to work
saw
for
the
whatever
2 freshmen
reason.
behind them too.
Yeah, so couldn't get it to work for whatever reason, but I don't think they're going to have a depth issue there at linebacker. It doesn't seem like it.
No.
Especially if they want to play more 4-2 stuff. So, unfortunate, but it's sometimes a sign of a healthy program when you have guys transferring out that you're like, oh man, it's too bad we can't keep him. He's a pretty good player. He was a highly rated recruit. In the past couple seasons, you've seen guys that weren't on scholarship transferring out, and you're like, oh man, that guy played a lot last year. They might have been relying on him. This year, you have guys that have shown flashes of talent and have shown to be kind of highly recruited, had some pretty good offer lists coming out of college or coming out of high school, and those guys are leaving. So you got to feel the talent levels getting higher and higher, which is a good thing as much as it stinks to lose somebody.
Yeah. And it kind of leads into, where this team has been. That, there was the athletic piece out by Chris Fanini. If you guys haven't checked it out, please do. It's fantastic. It's well researched. It's not the same hokey USF crap that we've heard over the last 5 years.
Take it from me, someone who absolutely is just tired of that shit. Like, I never want to read another Matt Baker article about USF's woefully inept program or anything like that. This is extremely, extremely well written, and from what what I'm seeing, it's actually very well received by most people, because most people, aside from the drive-by Bulls Pete ahead kind of people, everyone's kind of like, this is, yeah, like they have the opportunity to fix it. They finally have the alignment, and you can kind of see what I noted was the quiet part from the last 25 years of football was finally said out loud in that article.
Yeah, I agree. And Jim Leavitt was interviewed for it. Michael Kelly was interviewed for this. Jeff Scott was interviewed for this. It was, you got some of the key stakeholders for the last 15 plus years, 25 plus years of this program, where, Jim Leavitt was the closest to saying the super quiet part out loud super much. He really blamed the administration, and that's really what happened, right? It's Judy Ginshaft, Doug Woolard, Mark Harlan, every single guy that's come through didn't capitalize on USF's football success early on. They just thought, oh, well, we've made it. My job here is done. I'm going to kick my feet up and take pictures. They never capitalized on being number 2 in the nation in 2007. And then, as Jim Leavitt points out, they were also ranked the 2 years after that, and still nothing happened. Still no plans were made for the at least the practice facility, never mind the on-campus stadium. And I think it was Michael Kelly in the story said, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best is today. We're getting there. We are absolutely getting there. You see the IPF being, put up. You see Jeff Finnick and the Morsani family put up $10 million combined to put down for the on-campus stadium. You see the plans in action, and it's starting to affect, the rest of the program and the programs, plural, because everything else is kind of getting put into place. Baseball and softball are getting new batting cages and facilities. Tennis, track got a new track and field got a new track. I mean, golf's gotten some upgrades at their facility. It slowly but surely will start to happen for this entire athletic program. And now we've got a precedent in real law who has said the magic phrase that athletics is the front porch to university. The true alignment is there. But the point that I kind of want to, kind of dig into for a little bit before we get out of here is Jeff Scott finally, he said it a couple of times. I think he said it in the post-game presser after the spring game. I finally have the depth of a D1 football team. And it takes a while to build that. And I'm just kind of going through the 2019 and 2020 recruiting class, and you see why there's been such a dearth of talent. Like, just looking at the 2019 class, Daquan Evans, Dustin Hall, and then Kelly Joyner and Xavier Weaver. So those are 4 guys that are key contributors. Okay. And then you can make your mind up on Logan Berryhill, Jaden Curry, Jason Vaughn, and Josh Blanchard. Who did Josh transfer out?
God, that's a terrible thing. I don't think he did.
Anybody in the comments, did he transfer? He might. I mean, he may have. I honestly, like, that's just like.
No, he's still here.
Okay, good.
He's still, okay.
Now I feel kind of bad, but like,
Well, there was quite a few guys on the line that seemed to be held out of the spring game, so it's kind of hard to tell because you didn't see him. So Dustin Hall, I think, was another one that didn't play. So
yeah, it's like you have 4 key guys from the 2019 class, and then the 2020 class, Jeff Scott's first season, the transition season, they're always terrible. You've already had 6 guys transfer out. Let's take a look. Cesar Reyes.
Technically, it's 7. Technically, it's 8, actually.
Did Levante Camille transfer out as well?
Levante Camille transferred, yeah.
Sion Tatupo never made it to campus. Uriah Green also left. And Travis Marsh went in and out. So, I mean, from the 2020 class, you're looking at Amari and Dawson, however you feel about Tramel Logan, Mac Harris, Chris Townsell, however you feel about them, however you feel about AJ Hamilton, Brian Battie, all Americans. You bang, you hit that.
Yeah, Nick.
Well, sorry, I was reading Nick's comment.
Yeah, Nick nails it there. But yeah, I mean, I like that 2020 class. Like, we knew half that class probably wasn't going to graduate from USF. Like, just plain and simple. Because that's a transition class.
Yeah, it's a transition class kind of math.
But the fact that he was able to hit at least, in my good, honest opinion, he hit at least 2 good studs out of that group. Yeah. One of them being Battie.
Who was from the previous staff, really.
Right.
To their credit, as much as they didn't get much in, he was one of them.
I mean, yes, backup, but a very key, important person is Travis Marsh in that class.
And Amarian Dawson.
And Amarian Dawson, yes. But sorry, 3 people. But yeah, I mean, it's to be said that, you know, your first transition class is mostly duds, but you know, you get a few studs out of that class too.
Yeah, what I took from that article is I don't think Jeff Scott realized
how bad it was.
Roster looked like.
Well, he didn't watch any film.
Yeah, that's part I was going to mention. That probably would have helped, but maybe he wouldn't have taken the job. So, people didn't realize how bad the roster was that last year. I'm not one to, like, in the moment rip on kids as it's happening, but now that we're a few years away from it, there was no explosiveness on that roster. I think people see, like, I bet Jeff Scott was like, hey, man, there's a lot of Florida guys on that roster. I recruit Florida. There's a lot of good players in Florida. I bet they got a lot of good players, and there's just poor coaching. Then you get down, and you're like, oh, this is, like, not great. Not a lot of depth. Issues all over the place. And it takes some time to get out of that hole. And he's finally getting there, and luckily he's got the transfer portal to help him out. But, yeah, it was not – I don't think people – and I think Nick's right. People don't understand the state of that roster that last year and kind of how the recruiting had grinded to such a halt.
Yeah,
that you weren't bringing in a ton even the years before. So that 2019 class, I think all the classes were going downhill kind of his entire tenure. So not great.
I mean, it's tough to go from a charismatic guy like Willie Taggart to dry as dirt mixed with some cardboard and just stale, week old cereal. Like that's what Charlie Strong is and has always been, or at least over the last 5 years. I don't think he should have taken this job. I think Texas really scarred him and messed him up, which that's a whole different can of worms that we don't have time to get into.
Well, but, you know what's kind of interesting is, and it was mentioned in the article, I think it was Corey Long that said it, that, that Taggart and Levitt weren't well liked by the local coaches. But what's interesting is it's Miami is a whole different animal in terms of recruiting and football culture. It's totally different than the rest of the state. South Florida, like that part of South Florida is different. And it seems like Taggart and Levitt, their personalities kind of mesh more with that area where you can get a lot of talent from. Where Strong, he kind of his demeanor seems more in line with some of the local programs and and some that don't produce as much talent, but sometimes have pretty good programs. And this is how we do things. And this is and we win because of the program.
I still can't figure out what Strong's philosophy was the entire time. Like, he didn't stick to...
it wasn't great. And then I think Willie did a pretty good job of reaching out to high school coaches, whatever the local guys say. I know I was coaching when he was here, and he kind of was doing some of the high school outreach. They had some guys working in high school outreach that were really well thought of by high school coaches. I know a lot of guys like Levitt from the camp circuit and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's I think that part of it's interesting too, kind of the personality of the head coach, maybe fitting in with some local programs, but I think the ones that personality fits in, you're not going to be able to get as much talent as you need to win. You need to be able to kind of canvas the whole state too.
It's pretty interesting. Like, as Corey Law mentioned, like, a lot of these guys haven't been liked by the Hillsborough County coaches. Is it really necessary? Like, I'm going to be brutally, like, is Hillsborough County football, high school football, really the end all be all? Because I think you can really win without a single player from Hillsborough County on your team. I truly believe that there's not one. Oh man, like Plant, before Wiener left, maybe, but like now, Plant was really good with Jordan McLeod at quarterback, and Jordan McLeod never panned out in college. No matter how much I personally love the kid. So like,
Plant was like a program, like I was saying, this is how we do things. This is the way we do it. Really well run program. I mean, you get some places down in Miami where the program stinks, but the players are so insane it doesn't matter. Like, but then you also have those places down there where the programs are really good too, and that's where you get those really, really good players that consistently year after year they pump guys out, and even their lower level guys end up being great players. But I think that another area Taggart hit that. And I coached here, so I know guys, is the kind of Manatee, Sarasota. He really did. There's a lot of guys that can play that kind of get passed over because it's not quite in Tampa. And then you got IMG there now, so a lot of guys will go to IMG and kind of spend their time there. But they have a ton of really good players there. Marlon Mack came from there.
The Immokalee pipeline has just straight up dried up. Like, the West consistently Coast, hitting on
the West Coast
guys.
West Coast south of Tampa, south of St. Pete has got a lot of really good players, and you haven't seen. I don't think Strong did a really good job getting in there.
He didn't do anything there.
Which Taggart pulled a bunch of really good players, and that's within two hours of campus, probably 2-3 hours of Immokalee, and up to basically Immokalee up to Palmetto is. That's a talent-rich area. 941 with Manatee, Sarasota. A lot of players there.
I mean, your most recent All-American is from where?
The 941.
You can't you don't have to recruit. Like I love Hillsborough County. You don't have to recruit this county. You can win if you recruit Pinellas, if you recruit Polk, because you can recruit Orange County. If you can get back into Miami, you can win without any Hillsborough kids. I, honest to God, cannot remember the last Hillsborough guy who was an actual player when USF was good.
Yeah.
It's MVS, Pinellas County. Rodney Adams, Pinellas County. Mitch, Pinellas County. Do you see where I'm going with this, guys?
Yeah.
Quentin Flowers, Miami. Marlon Mack, Sarasota. Dearness Johnson, Immokalee. Where I don't even know where Immokalee is. Manatee, Sarasota, that area?
Yeah, no, it's Lee. I think it's Lee County. It's way
down there. I mean, it's
out in the middle of nowhere. Trust me, I had to go there for a playoff game. It's a trek. You go, and then they have an all-turf field, Edrin James Field, which is pretty nice.
Nigel Harris. He was a Hillsborough High guy. There we go. We got one.
I think you can probably for Scott to be successful. It's the very unfortunate thing. You always have to keep one hand in the Hillsborough cookie pot, and
I think that's like the minimum.
Yeah, that's all he's got to do. He's just. I mean, I have thankfully USF alumni or the USF Recruiting News. Like he has the map that shows where they're offering kids. They've offered plenty of kids in Hillsborough. They've offered plenty of kids in the greater Tampa Bay area. But the issue is that pond is, I mean, everyone is offering every kid in Hillsborough County.
And it's the top guys go P5, right? So they're just straight up, they're off the board. Now all of these other high school coaches, and I promise you, because I've had conversations with these high school coaches as well as college coaches. I mean, this guy's kind of a fringy. He's a 2-star low 3. Why don't you just take him? I mean, he's from Tampa. You should just take him. That's just not how this works. I'm going to be out of the job in 2 years if I just keep taking your fringe guy.
Yeah.
Right. And I talked to Scott and Holman about this as well. Like it is physically impossible for schools like Houston, for schools like USF, for UCF, even guy like Tulane. It is physically impossible for them to recruit they can't fence off their area. You can't fence off the New Orleans area, Houston area, Tampa, Orlando. You cannot fence off those areas because the top guys are always taken, and then those middling guys are always taken, and so on and so forth until those fringe 2-star guys. Like I think it was Big County Preps was like, why hasn't USF offered Keon Terrell from is it Gaither? I think he's like the number 3 overall player in the class. We haven't offered him because he's not going to come here. Why would we like? He was already committed to Notre Dame in the 10th grade. Why would Jeff Scott even attempt to put forth effort on that?
And he said that in the article too. In the athletic article, he mentioned, and this is what he said in the first coaches clinic before COVID kind of came in and shut us down, and then the man held us down for this latest one. He came in and said he thought, hey, we're not going to get the top guys that Alabama and Clemson want to come get, but we're going to take guys from Indiana. We're going to take guys from Kentucky. We're going to take guys from West Virginia. Those in North Carolina State. Those are some of the schools he mentioned. And I think he didn't realize how, okay, maybe not. Maybe I'm not going to get all those guys. But what they've done really well, and just from talking with coaches I know in that Manatee, Sarasota County, there were times where they didn't hear from somebody from USF for like 6 months at a time. And like Palmetto High School, one coach I know, he didn't see anybody for over a year. It's like a 45-minute drive to campus. It's not that far away. And they don't have D1 guys every year, but they got pretty close. They've got a kid that's starting at FAU right now that could have started USF, but they didn't offer him a slot receiver.
You know who else could have started USF? That never was it big enough?
Nathaniel Dell.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think this staff is doing a much better job of getting into all the areas, and they had a plan to do that. Each coach has like in like the 1 hour radius around campus. Every school has a specific coach that goes and talks to those guys. So that is much better than the previous staff who let guys kind of. I mean, there were a couple guys at some of these schools that could have been part of your walk-on program, and they didn't even come by and look at them before. So I mean, guys that are pretty decent players that had like prepaid college in the state of Florida, they're like, hey, I'd like to walk on, and by the time everything was kind of put together, it was too late because the last staff didn't really do any due diligence on these guys. So I think we had a pretty good idea of the talent level and how that became a big issue. I think Jeff Scott learned it a little bit more once he got here, and then understood how difficult it can be to recruit right now if you're not winning, and then you don't have some of the stuff to sell that the other schools have. But now with the indoor, with the on-campus stadium, for all intents and purposes, it's happening. Like, so you got a lot more to sell. I think you'll see the recruiting get better and better. But that I think was one of the biggest issues outside of the problems with the administration. It's just that the recruiting just sags so much you can't keep up.
Yep, I agree. And let's just end it on this this little thing that we discussed. I think good conversation. Love having the comments every single week. We're still heading in the right direction. We're like I don't want anyone to get bent out of shape. What we discussed tonight, maybe outside of Steeg, just absolutely calling for the firing of the head coach,
carpet bombing the women's tennis program.
Listen,
That's what I'm here for.
USF admins, it was not me this time. You cannot blame me for what he said. I was not expecting it. I agree, but I was not expecting it. But appreciate everyone joining. We'll probably have one another week or two. We just need more content, honestly. I mean, we're running out. We're bat and ball season. We haven't even gotten to baseball and softball. I still need time to decompress about what's happened with baseball over the last 2.5-3 weeks. It's our pets' heads are falling off at this point. I don't like.
They're second half team. They're coming back.
Oh man,
There's so much talent.
There really is.
There's so much talent. That's all I'll say.
They'll get hot.
Yeah.
They'll get hot. Don't worry.
Ugh, man. But alas, here we are at the end.
Steve, put your glasses on real quick. I want to see something.
That's so textbook. I love that.
That's pretty accurate.
There you go. Perfect disguise, Steve.
Perfect. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Always fun. We'll reconvene here in a week or so.
If anyone came in late, nobody said to fire Jeff Scott. I don't know if that didn't.
No, my scourge and
wrong head coach.
My scourge came to a different coach in a different sport.
And it's not the one you think it is.
That'll be the tag for the Twitter, the tweet. Steeg fires a coach, but not the one you think. Find out more on this edition of the Bullimianti podcast. Again, appreciate you guys tuning in and listening, downloading, subscribing. Again, check out the Athletic article from Chris Vanini if you haven't already. It's been pretty great. Chris is a good dude, very good golfer, and has a great beard. So good for him.
Let's get a big scramble.
Yeah. For Seth, Steeg, this has been Nathan Bond signing off on another edition of the Bullimianti podcast, proudly presented by Home Field Apparel. Go Bulls.
Go Bulls.